Hi everybody! Welcome back to another Crafting Saturdays with me, Avivah, your art director from the Ed Asner Family Center. We are going to be doing something super fun and springy. We are going to be doing one of my favorite kind of projects, a really great way to decorate your house and just make it a little bit more lively, because I know we're spending a lot of time staring at our windows, so maybe this will spruce up your home a little bit more than it already is. All right, so let's jump into it, okay? We are going to be making flower pressed sun catchers. So mine is a little bit darker than most flowers. I chose a very dark colored flower and more of like foliage for my sun catcher. But what we're going to be using today is a few different kinds of flowers. This project is found with all materials that you can usually find in your house. And we're just gonna jump into it, okay? So what I've chosen today are 4 different types of flowers and then one flower that is really not gonna work for this project. So when you go out into your garden and you start looking around, you're really going to want to try and find flowers that are single petaled. So flowers like this that have only one layer of petals are the best. And also petals that are a little bit more on the thicker side. So a flower like this, daisies, let me think of other flowers, like a good poppy. Poppies might be a little bit thin, but anything with like a bit of a thicker petal would work, because we are going to be using an iron today for our project. We usually, when you are pressing flowers, you have to wait like 2 or 3 weeks, and I don't have time for that. I want flowers pressed now, and I am impatient, and we are going to be doing this within minutes, okay? So we are going to be pressing our flowers with an iron. So you're going to need a few things for today's project. You're going to need single petaled flowers or thin foliage that'll be easy to press down flat. Think about your pressing, okay? Make sure that you have flowers that'll be easily pressed. So like a giant rose, that's too thick. Let it keep growing, you know? But find a flower, and what you're going to do is you are going to cut it diagonally and put it in some water immediately so it stays as fresh as possible during this process, okay? So your flowers, you're gonna need flowers. You are going to be needing a sturdy surface to be working on. You are going to be needing scissors, obviously, to cut your flowers, and any type of absorbent paper. So today I have paper towels, and I also have tissue paper would work as well. You can also use other types of absorbent paper like coffee filters or newspaper. Anything like that will work. You just need something that has a flat surface. So I'm using a paper towel today that has little to no really like indents or marks in it. There's no ribs in it. This is very flat paper towels. I'm going to be using that today. That's why tissue paper would also work, super flat. So I'm going to just put this to the side. So we're going to be needing some absorbent paper, scissors, flour, and so what I'm using today for my actual kind of see-through paper here, I'm using contact paper. And contact paper is a special kind of paper that you unstick, and it's basically like a giant clear sticker that you can cut out into any shape, and then you just kind of top that with the same kind of I'm explaining this terribly, but it's basically 2 sticky sides of clear paper that you can stick together and cut in whatever shape you need. But if you don't have contact paper at home, you could also use some packaging tape, would work perfectly fine. And there's a way that you just lay your packaging tape flat, and then just kind of add more as you go down. Just kind of make it into like more of like a sheet of packaging tape. And that's a little bit more, there's a little bit more steps to that one. So I definitely suggest ordering some contact paper online for this project. But if you want to get this project done today, try some packing tape. It'll work. It'll still look just as beautiful. Alrighty. Oh, and you'll need an iron. My gosh, the most important part. Get your iron, get a friend or a buddy or a parent or a helper to help you out. You know, you're going to need 2 hands for this one. But you're also going to need someone to make sure that you're all right, you're not getting burned, and we're staying safe. All right, so jumping into it, I'm going to move my flower. That is not going to work. Leave those flowers in the garden, those thin petaled flowers. I'm going to just put that to the side, and we are going to get into it. So I am going to take out my heavy book. And we are going to get started. So I'm going to start off by getting my absorbent paper. And I'm going to be taking my paper, folding it in half. This is a very large piece of paper towel, so I'm not going to be using all of it. Kind of place on your table your flowers and see how much room you're going to need on your paper towel, because you're going to be laying them all flat on here. So that's not enough space. So actually maybe one full piece would be probably best for this. Make sure your heavy book is about the same size, so you want to make sure that that'll fit in there. Might be a little small, so I'm going to have to scrunch my flowers together once I place them. So, getting started here, I'm moving my space. Make sure your space is clear. You want to make sure you always have enough arm room. Make sure your iron is out of the way too. Now I don't want anyone getting burned. So, I have a flat space here with my absorbent paper, and I'm going to be starting by placing my flowers down. So I'm going to start with my foliage here, my little leaves, and I'm going to be placing them flat down with the curve going up, so when I press down they lay down as flat as possible. So I'm only going to be doing 2. I'm going to have a small space for my little sun catcher, but so there are my leaves, and I have some lavender here, and I'm going to be laying these flat. I always feel like leaves always work the best too. You can always use a nice beautiful pop of green in anything you use, honestly. Green is one of my favorite colors. So now, starting with my flower, I'm going to be taking these bottom leaves off, and I'm feeling these leaves, and I'm feeling that, you know, they're a little bit too thick, and when I press them, they're probably not going to look so great. So I'm going to just go with my gut, take all of those leaves off, and I'm going to place my flower. Now this is a pretty important part when you're pressing your flowers. You really want to make sure you're placing your flowers in the way that you want it to look once it is completed. So you want to make sure you have all those beautiful colors popping out. Make sure you're placing it the way that you want it to look on your catcher, because that's the way it's going to dry and that's the way it's going to stick. So any unwanted brown leaves, weird parts on your stems. All right. And don't worry about full-blown placement, because you'll be able to replace it once we actually have our sticky paper down. So now that I have my flowers ready to go, placed in the way that I want, I'm going to take my second piece of paper, my absorbent paper, and I'm going to be lightly placing it over the top. Make sure not to move any of your flowers around, or it'll kind of ruin your little placement that you just made. So I'm being very careful with my flowers. I'm making sure that they'll be able to fit under my book. And I'm going to be taking my heavy book now, and I'm just going to place it right on top of those flowers, okay? Don't worry if some parts are sticking out. You really do want to try and cover the whole thing. So I'm going to leave this book on here for about 5 minutes, and then we are going to come back and get started on our next step. All right, now that our flowers are pressed and it's been about 5 minutes, I'm going to carefully lift up my book. You can already see some of those pressed flowers. And I'm going to be just taking a little peek just to make sure that they're flat, they're still placed in the way that I want. Not going to show you yet. We're going to wait till the final result. And so now that your flowers are pressed slightly and they kind of have their bends in their petals, I'm going to be taking my iron or having a helper help me out and iron for me. And what you're going to be doing is you're not going to be using your clothing technique and you're not going to be doing some circles here. You're going to be really just pressing down on these flowers, okay? Counting for 5 seconds. 4, 5. And then lifting, letting them cool for a moment, and then pressing back down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm just going to continue doing that motion of 5 seconds on, 5 seconds off for about, let's say, 2 minutes. You're going to be doing that. It really doesn't have to be a long time, but I'm going to leave that up to you to gauge with the flowers that you choose, because each flower is different and needs a little bit more time for the rest. So make sure that you are taking time in between to kind of peek in there, making sure that they're drying as you're going. And all right, I have finished ironing my flowers. It's very warm still. Be very careful around your paper towel or whatever absorbent paper you chose. And I'm going to very, very carefully lift up my top layer now that my flowers are dry. So I am touching and holding down my flowers as I pull back the paper. Very carefully using the tips of my fingers to make sure that they don't lose any leaves, any petals, being super delicate. All right. So move that top piece of paper to the side. You don't need that anymore. And you have some beautifully dried flowers here. And so it looks like mine got kind of layered up here, but so now is the time to kind of move your leaves a little bit, make sure they're placed the way that you want. My flower turned out a little bit wonky, but that's okay. I still think it looks really beautiful. So now your flowers aren't going to be perfectly dry, but you know, this is a really quick way to flatten out some flowers, take out most of their moisture, and make it easier to be able to stick down flat for your sun catcher. So I'm going to be moving my flowers up now, and I'm going to be making sure that they can be separated from this bottom paper towel. So just kind of lifting them carefully, making sure they're not stuck, because now we're going to need our hands to use our contact paper. So I'm taking my contact paper, and one side is the shiny sticky side, and then the other side is this piece of paper. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking off my back layer, and you see how it's starting to roll here? I am putting I'm putting it paper side up so it won't keep rolling up. So it stays flat. I'm taking off that paper layer. It's a little tricky. Very satisfying. Woo! Okay. You can't see it, but here is my sticky layer. And so now is the fun part. You get to place your beautiful dried bouquet on here. So I'm going to go with maybe my main flower in the middle. And I always think it looks really beautiful if you do some symmetry. Make it the same on both sides. So I'm going to take my two lavender leaves, and I'm going to be placing it on the side here, placing it on the side. And this is a great present for someone if you feel like someone's having their birthday come soon. Super easy to mail to someone if you have someone far away that you want to show some love to. And you could also use any of these flowers for art as well. If you ever wanted to make a picture and add some 3D flowers to your picture, I think that would be really lovely too. All right, now that my flowers are placed, I can move my paper towel out of the way. And I'm going to get started by sealing off these flowers now with my top layer of contact paper. I'm going to be laying it down flat. I'm covering all those edges, and I'm making sure I'm not moving any of my flowers, and it should look a little bit something like this now. But as you can see, when I bring it into the light here, you can see around their stems there's still some bubbles. So very carefully, you're going to use your thumbs to just press around those little bubbles. Make sure your flower is sealed. All right. Oh, I just love the way that this looks. It's so pretty. Now that all of my bubbles are out and it's basically sealed all the way, I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to be cutting off these kind of still sticky edges. And a good way to really finish off this project is taking a solid piece of paper and maybe making a little frame for your sun catcher too. I'm going to keep mine simple today, but at home, if you wanted to add a little border to it with some paper, that's super easy to do with just some regular old Elmer's glue. All right, finishing off, cutting off these edges. And there you have it, your lovely sun catcher. So now when you hold it up to the window, hopefully you can see through these lovely petals. You can cover up your windows with some beautiful flowers, and it's going to be really great, guys. I really hope you guys had a great time making this with me. Please post all of your pictures of your sun catchers online. I just get happy looking at this. So I hope you guys too. Whenever you guys look out your window and see your sun catchers, it kind of brightens your day a little bit. So make sure to join us again on Saturdays for crafting, and then also on Wednesday for our Zoom classes. We are doing character drawings, and we have so many other classes at the Ed Asner Family Center.com and on our YouTube. Please come back again, and thank you, and goodbye.